Okay. That should be better. Rightio. Okay, so come on. Oh god. Frame rates. I
Is
can't.
it loading in?
No. It's just for whatever reason, frame rate is kind of low. Okay, so let's see. What do I do to? Where's this cockpit? Where do I grab it?
If you want to close the cockpit, you want to click onto the latch that is holding it to the
Right, there we go.
front.
There we go. And to lock it,
You want to go to your left.
Yep.
There is two latches, red latches. One is secure canopy and the other is pressurized.
secure canopy. Rightio, that's that done.
All right, so from the top, right?
Yep.
All right, so welcome to the Mig21 cockpit, the most superior aircraft in this game. Much more superior than F-15, very so. Okay, so let's start from the right, and we're gonna just familiarize with the panels, so you know which one I'm referring to when you need to press something. So the left panel. The entire left panel is about electronics. This whole thing. Whenever something doesn't work, or a light doesn't light up, or you don't have energy,
it's the wind.
Yep, it's the wind on the moon. All right. Okay. So left-hand side panel, the electronics.
Yep.
So anything electronic related is gonna be there. The front panel, or like front left panel, which is still on the wall to the front, is your radar, IFF, and what's it called? RPO control switches, I guess. The entire front is all about, obviously, avionics. Is there anything that you really need to know about the front? Well, okay, so the most one to the to the left with the 100% is your RPM. So this will move once we start getting the engine up. And if your engine indeed flames out mid-flight, you want to look at that and see it going down, because that's where you will know. The one below is the temperature, and the one below that is the fuel. And this one is kind of important because Mig21 has a tendency to flame out more than usually below like 2/3 of the fuel. So once it gets around 1, so 1,000, that's where you want to not be pulling too many Gs. Above the RPM meter, you have the accelerometer, the one with the one that goes up to 10 and to -4. That's your plus and minus Gs. One above that, with the plain outline, is your RPO, or SPO, sorry. And SPO is your radar warning receiver. It's very primitive, but basically, if those two front lights light up, you have a radar contact or radar pinging you from the front. If they light up from the both to the rear, it's the rear, and you know, one side is diagonal. So it's super primitive, and it only works, if I remember correctly, at an angle of 45 degrees all around the aircraft. So if something's like, if you have a missile going at you from below or above, you won't ever see it. Yeah, safety. Anyway, to the left-hand side, to the very left-hand side of the front panel, you have the gauge that goes up to 9. That's your speed, and that's in hundreds. So goes to up to 900. And once you go past Mach 1, it will just continue going. So if you're going very, very fast, but your gauge is telling you that you're going 100 kilometers per hour, that's because you're going 1,100.
Right.
Well, altitude meter, altimeter. Oh, the horizon. The thing with the white cross in the middle of it, for lack of the better word, is your navigation compass, and that goes with that works with ARC and RSBN systems. Basically, what they are is a system homing onto a emitter on different airfields. And if you open, and now how do you open kneeboard on this fucking thing? Hold on. Was it control? Yeah, control arrow up.
Yep.
And then you scroll control to the left up until you have RSBN Caucasus.
Yep.
So those are the channels for the RSBN. I can teach you how to do that later. But basically, once you set those, there is a Morse code signature on that sheet, and you will basically start hearing Morse code from the airfield, and the arrow on the compass will start pointing towards the airfield. So basically, this is the RTB thing.
Yep.
If you really need it.
I don't think I'm going to need that.
Yeah, well. But it's nice to know that it has a feature like that. Okay, so above the front panel to your left is the weapons panel. That is the missiles and the guns. So those three buttons that you see are activate gun. This is basically I think an explosive cartridge that goes out in the gun and cocks it. So if the gun jams, you can also press the second and the third. But if you press the first one, the gun should be ready to fire.
Okay.
This big turning knob in the middle is your weapon selector, and basically, you have the cockpit in English.
I do.
I understand. Okay, so the B one, the one that has B, is the bombs. The one up, if I remember correctly, is the rockets, and the one to the right is the missiles. And basically, the 1, 2, and 3, 4 are firing from both pylons, and you can also separately select each pylon. If I remember correctly, the pylons go from the 1, 2 is the inner pylons, 3, 4 is the outer pylons. But
okay.
I always have a problem with that. Next to that, you have two flip switches, and I forgot that I have my cockpit in Russian because I forgot to switch it to English.
Yeah, weapons mode, IR missile, neutral, SR, and the other one is air ground.
So the one with neutral and SR and IR is your mode selector for the weapons. So IR is infrared, SAR is radar, and neutral is if you're not using either. Like with dumbfire rockets, but you don't have to touch it if you're using dumbfire rockets because they won't care either way. And the weapon mode is air and ground, so if you're using air-to-air missiles or switching to bombs or rockets, which are otherwise used for ground attack. And that's about it, about the front panel. Now the left panel, you have the front left panel, you have the gear control, the gear lights control, the gear indicator, what is this thing? The SAO, which is not very useful, and the fire extinguisher cover, which so the manual says that in case of fire in this aircraft, you're supposed to press that button and then leave the aircraft. So there is that. Early on boosters, emergency afterburner. Okay, so this thing on the the floor panel, kinda next to the first one is early on boosters, and you don't ever want to switch it off because you will not be able to use your early ons, so no role for you. But the other one is the emergency afterburner, and basically what this does, if I am correct, is just pumps more fuel into the afterburner. You can run it for 10 minutes, until the engine shits itself. So I usually don't touch it unless I really want to go fast. You have your throttle, you have the throttle, and next to the throttle you have this red cover, and below the cover, obviously, if you open it, there is a button, and this is the SPDR drop button. What it says for is just dropping the rocket boosters that you can install for takeoff, but also, coincidentally, because the rocket boosters are in the same place that flares, so when you choose rocket boosters, you go without flares, because it's either safety or being cool in this aircraft. This is the button that you use to deploy countermeasures.
Okay.
Funnily enough. So whenever you take off into combat, you probably want this switch out in the open, and you probably want a button bound to it so you can, well, start dropping flares if you need to.
Okay, give me a second. I'm just gonna bound the auto start engine.
Oh, we're not going auto. Come on.
Hey mate, I know what this plane's like, and if I don't bind this start engine button thing.
Oh yeah, the start engine. Yeah.
No, I want to do that first before I do anything else. Now you said where weapons. What are bound to weapons? Okay, so no. Oh, for fuck's sake, stop flicking out, you stupid piece of shit game.
I really should have this cockpit in English, even though I know it.
Support, lights, power, radar on SPO, radio communications, view, AVAV.
And again,
why isn't my throttle moving?
Because it's locked.
In order to
unlock there is this little lever below the throttle. Not below, but like behind the throttle, there is this little thingy that locks the throttle.
Yep.
Then it should be moving. Okay. Behind the throttle, on that black panel, on the quote-unquote floor, is your flap positions. So the first one is flaps neutral, the second is takeoff, and the last one is landing. Yep. And there is a reset flap buttons, because once you press them, they depress, so you can reset them with the little silver button. It's not really needed; it's just there. And the cover switch behind that is the drag chute cover drop.
Yep.
Or drag chute drop. And you probably want the drag chute bound, because I don't think it is. I think it's on the joystick in the Mig21, and you can't actually bind it as a button, or like you can't actually press it as a button in the cockpit, so you need to bind it to something. I think it's P by default, because parachute. Okay, and the important bit is on the wall panel, the very last switch and button is the engine start. So if you press the button that is bound to engine start, you can, because we don't have energy, you will see it depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. And the switch below is engine cold start, engine normal start. It usually is good for cold start. It's fine. Shouldn't be bothered. All right. So we'll go with the startup procedure. Now, it is slightly interchangeable, but we're going to go from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, just so it's not confusing. But once you have power in this aircraft, you can just start, and the fuel pumps are enabled, you can starting the engine and then take care of everything else, because this aircraft really needs not a whole lot to start the engine. And we will not be requiring ground power, because this is a superior aircraft to everything else, and it does not need ground power. All right. So, front height side, we'll start from the very beginning. So, the very rear panel on right height side is, you want the three switches, the only three switches that are depressed.
Okay, so
the inverter second, and battery heater. Now we go with the floor panel.
Yep.
And what you want is the now everything is in Russian, so I need to mouse over it. But you want the AC generator, so that's the third switch.
Yep.
The first two ones is the SPDR system and the drop system. I think to properly drop countermeasures, you need the drop system, so you might as well flip the one in the middle.
Yep.
The next one, you want the battery, and you should start hearing like the battery buzzing in the background.
Yep.
DC generator is already on. You want the gyro, the first one above, and the second one, which is also gyro and some other stuff. And the emergency inverter, the red one, you want to leave alone. You don't touch that. You got it?
Yep.
Okay. And the last switches, the ones topmost switches on the floor panel, is the fuel pumps. All three you want on. You will hear the fuel pumps coming on.
Yep.
Okay, so this wall of switches,
yep.
Quite literally, it doesn't hurt to flip on every single one because it really doesn't matter. So you might as well go through all of them because the ones that you don't need won't hurt, and the ones that you need, you just select. So all of the switches, flip them on.
Yep.
The one switch that is freeway is the navigation light, so you probably don't want it in combat situations. But...
Yep. Okay.
You got it?
Yep.
All right. So further to the front, you want the 3 white switches on the black panel. That's your
radar.
And you want the front switch in the middle position, so it starts heating up.
Okay, done.
There are times where the radar does not heat up, and that's all sorts of trouble because it doesn't really like heating up in midair. Above that, you have those switches that are kind of concealed by those safety rings. And you want the first one, the SOD IAF, on. The second one, I believe, to the 1 position, so the middle position.
Yep.
The IFF system, the white switch, up, definitely. And the SPO RWR, so radar warning receiver, up.
Okay, done.
And the rest is negligible. The big cross-like red knob is your radio. So if you turn it, you will have radio stations. Now we're on Sochi Alder. Sochi Alder is 17, so you wanna turn that to 17.
Okay, on 17.
And there is a switch above that says radio. If it's not flipped up to the radio position, you want it to radio position.
Yep.
But that's and also the compass position is when you're trying to get transmissions with RSBN. So the Morse code will come in through that if you switch it to that position. And the other knob is just volume, so it doesn't matter. Okay. We completely ignore the front panel unless you want to depress the warning light, which is annoying and it's useless and it shouldn't be in this cockpit, but you can press the warning light to acknowledge the warning and it like few times and it will stop blinking.
Okay,
warning light.
Yep.
Okay, we don't need landing lights, so fuck that. Okay, behind or next to the throttle on the wall switch.
Yep.
On the wall panel, you have a white switch and a black switch next to each other. The black switch is fire extinguisher, the white switch is APU. You want the APU up position at all times.
Yep.
Also, the black switch above the other black switch is the emergency engines air start, and this is what you want only when your engine goes out. So you flip that up, and you do the engine startup procedures. We'll go through that once we get there. Yep. Ignoring the RSBN panel with the numbers because we don't need it right now. We can put the flaps to takeoff position, obviously, because why not? And now you want the throttle to be in Shit, it's all in Russians. What are the positions on the throttle? If you read the
just
labels.
Just tell me which block from the starting from the back. There's that's sectioned off.
I think you want the third.
Okay.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Third should be nice. Or maybe second, like between third and second, something like that. I always do that, you know. All right, and now, press the start button and hold it for a good while, and then you will hear the engine coming on.
Yep.
And that's the startup procedure. So flip whole lot of switches to the left.
Yep.
Flip the start engine to the right and or to the left and sides, and then press the start switch and it just goes. It's that simple.
Yep.
All I need is the fuel pumps. Okay. Do we want to put something on our aircraft, like bags and missiles?
Yeah, we may as well. Okay, so.
Okay, so. Refuel.
F8. Where's F8 key? I'm sort of going blind here. One. Okay, so.
Recommendation: patrol long range. Load out.
Okay. Patrol long range. Infrared missiles?
It has
patrol
infrared
long range.
missiles and so. Yep.
Patrol long range. Okay.
So they should be loading us, even though our engines are started. Yep, they are. At least me. So what this gets you is 2 radar-guided missiles and 2. I believe they're interchangeable. Like they can be guided by both radar and IR, but basically they're mostly IR. Well, that and a bag. Also, once the engine is well on the way, you can decrease the throttle to 0. It will just idle.
Idea.
Okay, and seems like you have everything on your aircraft.
Rearming complete.
Right. Yep. So right now, to get you the very important HUD on this aircraft. Yep. Okay, so you have the whole like quote unquote gun sight panel with the piece of paper on top of it. To the right of it, you have one switch to the side, and that's the pipper.
Yep.
And you should get your pipper display on the heads-up display. Does it?
I flicked it, but it's not showing anything.
Okay, might be missing one of the switches, because that usually happens when you don't have one of the switches, like the generator or something. If you look back to the electric switches,
yep.
You have the battery, the DC generator, the AC generator, the gyros. Inverter is not required because it's the emergency inverter and the fuel pumps. You have those things?
Yeah, all of them are switched on.
Let's see, because I know that one of those, and again, it's all in Russian, so I'm going through them. KPP, main emergency, ARC, radio system, SAO, pylons, missiles. Remember, there was one for the heads-up display. Coder, IFF, gun cam, optical sight. The one.
Oh wait, I found it.
Okay, you got it.
Yep.
Do you have the pipper?
I do now. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, and below on the bottom side of the gun sight, you have another switch, and that's the net.
Yep, there we are.
And you can adjust its brightness by turning the knob to the where's the knob? Yeah, that's this black knob with an arrow that goes around. It's to the and that just adjusts the brightness of it if it's too bright or too little. and that's basically you good to go. It's an interceptor, so it needs to haul ass off the runway. So
Yep.
that's about it. Yeah, we can roll on to the active and see what happens.
Right here.
Let's see, because this guy is rolling the wrong way, so we might as well go the wrong way. So I'm gonna go first.
Which guy's
Increase the
rolling the wrong
throttle.
way?
On the runway.
Oh, okay.
The guy is taking off the wrong way, so we might as well.
Oh, yeah.
So there is a point where she will start rolling,
Yep.
but it's slightly above what you should be having the throttles for taxi.
Yeah, get
Although
rolling and
taxi-
throttle back.
Yeah. Although I taxi very fast.
Fast,
So.
yep.
You go first, or I go first?
I'm already moving, so.
All right. Oh, I'm locking you with my IRs. Hold on, let me disable that. There we go. Like literally, you went in front of my aircraft and started going. Boo!
Yeah, that's probably not for the best. I'd rather not die.
Yeah. And you remember the brakes being differential. On this
Yep.
one.
Yeah, I remember. Inferior Russian design.
No. Lies! You lie!
I hope this frame rate improves once I'm in the air, because otherwise I'll have to pretty much exit the game
Yeah.
and reset the video settings. But I've got this
But
chip.
that's okay. I could switch my cockpit to English.
Yeah, we could do that, but I'll get up in the air first and.
Yep. No, I don't mind the cockpit being in Russian because I remember where is what, but explaining it in Russian, like, hey, look at the label that says suka.
Okay, I'm going to the
Switch.
far side of the runway.
Yep. Just align yourself.
Yep.
Okay. Coming to a halt. So, one thing before takeoff,
Yep.
aside from everything we've done, and it's not mandatory but it helps, is that to the lower left-hand side of
Yep.
the gun sight, you have this white kind of switch that is pointed down.
Nose gear brake.
Yes, you point it to the side in order to have the nose gear brake, just in case, especially when you're landing. So it's good to remember to have that on.
It's on for takeoff or on for landing?
On for takeoff and landing.
Oh,
For taxi, you don't need it.
okay.
Yeah. RSBN. Okay. All right. So the takeoff procedure in this aircraft is to reach 400, around roughly 400, depending on your load, kilometers per hour, and slowly start pulling on the stick until you're in. Okay. Well, until you are in 3/4 or 2/3 of the stick.
Okay.
Don't pull too much because you will taste track.
Yes, dear.
God damn it.
Oh.
There you go. She's up. And you want to... I forgot to tell you that, but the gear has a latch
Yep.
above it. You want to unlock that and then pull the gear up.
Okay. Oh. Oh, yes, yes. There we go. Is my gear
Yep.
up properly?
I'm looking. Yes, it is. And once it is up, you may depress the lever to the middle position so you don't lose air pressure in your hydraulics.
Yep.